with our next presentation slot coming up. And the topic is from paper to pixels, navigating the marketing shift. We already have our key presenter joining us, Madhulika Joshi Pallod. She is a CEO and Chief Creative Officer with Martist. So can you give a big round of applause for her? Hello. So while they set up the screen, so the reason I chose this topic is, first of all, we have some amazing audience who are already experts in their own domains, been in marketing industry, most of you, for many years. So I don't think I need to tell you how marketing is done, how digital is done, what's happening in AI. We all know this in our own capacities and capabilities, right? So I think this presentation is more of a food for thought. This presentation is going to make all of us rethink and reevaluate the way we currently market for brands, or we currently are think as marketers or as brand builders or whatsoever, right? A little bit about myself, my journey, and that's the reason, one of the reasons why I'm talking about this topic, is I've spent 2 decades in marketing. I started my career when there was no social media. I mean, Google was there, of course, but social media was nowhere in the picture. We didn't know like what is going to be Facebook, what's going to be Instagram. So I have seen the best of traditional era. I've seen the best of marketing when there was no digital at all. And now, after spending many years, I have seen how digital has emerged so strongly, how social media has emerged so strongly. Yeah, sorry. So it's very, very important for us to understand how marketing has worked in the past and how marketing is working in the present and how marketing can effectively function in the future. So that's the whole topic and the idea of my presentation, and the talk that I want to give is about paper to pixels. Very clearly how we transition, or rather how we merge and blend these two. So let me take you, let me ask you this. Do you all feel a bit nostalgic sometimes when you look at an ad which had appeared, say, 10 years back, 15 years back? Some of you maybe, I cannot talk to the young ones here, the Gen Zs maybe, but we always look at something like a memory thing and we feel very good about it. Oh my God, I used to love that jingle. I used to love that ad. I used to love that billboard. You know, so we always get into that mode of thinking. And so hence, let's look at this as an example. The image is just more of a representation. A few years back, a local coffee shop launched a simple print campaign, flyers stuffed into newspapers, that's how we used to market, and posters print around the town. Business picked up, but it was very hard to know why. So if you see, I've actually highlighted some of the words because that's how digital has shaped up, right? We didn't know how it shaped up, how it worked for us. But if you talk about today's scenario, we run Instagram ads with a click to order button, a call to action, and within hours, they know exactly how many clicks turned into coffee sales. So what has changed in this? Of course, what has changed is from the medium, right? From paper to pixel. So we've become more measurable. We know how it's working, what are the reach, numbers, data, everything. And with that shift came speed and the reach that print could never offer us, or any traditional media could never offer us. So here's the twist. The best performing ad, it looked just like the old poster. Yeah, many the creative would actually be the same. But sometimes the whole moral of the story here is that sometimes it's not about replacing the past, it's about digitizing its wisdom. So that's the message that we want to give to all of us, rather, is how we can sort of keep intact the learnings and implement it using the new mediums available to us. Well, this is a little India-centric as a slide, but I'm sure Singapore will have its own examples. Other countries and nations will have its own examples of the way advertising was earlier. So on my extreme left is an example of an Fevicol ad. On this side as well. The Fevicol is one of the leading adhesive brand in India, right? And they are amazing with traditional marketing, right? They've done amazing examples. We see their campaigns. You can actually watch it on YouTube as well. And their television commercials, their billboards, their every sort of marketing has become a hit because they have resonated with the concept of storytelling, right? And they've done brilliant job with that. Some of the old ads of example how faces were used as influencers or content creators, as we call today. and some of the other examples of some other brands. And every brand in the past has successfully resonated emotionally with its audience, successfully resonated at a deeper level. So coming to this point, what really mattered was copy that sold, design was bold, not busy, trust was earned, not tackled. So if you notice the previous presentations, there were two keywords that connected with me very strongly. One was about building trust. We just spoke a lot about ethical marketing. Building trust, right? So, and the earlier one was deepening human connections. So even when we talk about digital, even when we are speaking about AI, we are actually focusing a lot on the problems that's prevailing today, and that's the lack of trust, and that's the lack of not being able to build deeper connections. So at the end of the day, I think all of us are already acknowledging the fact that we need to revive the past in many, many ways. So after having multiple series of examples and the era that we lived in, the paper era, then came obviously the digital. That's where Google started, that's where search engines started, and that's where social media now happens. And let me say this, I'm running a company myself which is into marketing, right? And digital forms a major part of our strategy for the brands that we handle. But so let me not say that there's everything wrong in this era, right? There's a lot to celebrate. So obviously there are a lot of good positive points that we can talk about, whether it's about the reach and scalability, whether it's about being measurable and analytical, whether it's about the speed. I think the speed is where the brands are leading today in terms of marketing, the real-time campaign adjustments, or it's about interactivity and engagement, right? So the two-way communication with customers. So there's a lot good happening, right? And I'm going to show you one very quick example of a campaign that ran in 2010. It was a campaign by the brand Old Spice, and that was a purely digital campaign. So they made excellent use of digital marketing, and it was an integrated campaign solely meant for digital. So before we get into the final discussion about why we need to revive the past, let's look at that one beautiful example of how digital marketing campaign was conducted by Old Spice. And of course, sorry, I missed out the point on cost effectiveness. That's most of our marketers agree that it's a lot more measurable also from the cost aspect. So this is a campaign called Smeltimental, which had 50 million views on YouTube. It ran an integrated campaign, so they had a similar messaging going out on their websites, plus digital commercials. So let's quickly have a look at some very quirky content that was created by the brand. Can we have the volume, please?
Back to the man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like it. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat. A man, your man, could smell it. What's in your head? Back to me. I am. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look ahead. The tickets are now diving. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
There's a lot good happening, and this was in 2010. If we talk about 2025, we have many more examples thanks to AI, in terms of the way the commercials, the content is being generated. So digital advertising, this is all the good part that I'm talking about, is definitely accounting for 73% of the total ad revenue globally, and it's going to surpass $1 trillion. That's a huge progression that we're seeing, right? So that's talking a little bit about the numbers and how digital has actually entered into our privacy, into our homes and everything else. So now coming to the main point, what have we lost? After this session, maybe I want to hear from you. What have we lost in this whole bargain of, trying to or attempt to get more closer to our customers or audience? And if at all there is a gain, if there is a gain, at what cost, right? So if we speak about the paper era, we are actually talking about the depth that traditional marketing gave us, right? The human connectivity, it was always easier to be more close to the customer in the real way, trying to understand deeper at the level of emotions and how they function, what they want, what they expect, having a human talk to the human in a way that they can really, if there's an issue or a challenge or a problem, how they can actually solve that. Depth versus speed, right? Today what we see is there's a lot of speed, there's a lot of short form content, there's a lot of short connections being built. Authenticity versus virality, right? So today every brand's, not every I would say, but even when we deal with businesses, a lot of brands comes to tell us that how can you make a content which can go viral, right? So it's pretty much on everybody's agenda that we want to be seen, heard, more than actually trying to say how can I actually have a deeper connection with my audience, right? So, and the answer is simple, right? The answer is you've got to be authentic with your customers, you've got to be real as much as possible. Consistency versus chaos, right? So brands did believe a lot on being consistent, in their messaging, in their style, in their graphical representation, in everything that they did. Obviously, today personally speaking, also when I'm setting up a media plan for our brands, right? When we work with, imagine if we get confused, how confused our businesses and companies are, right? So it's a chaos here. There's a lot of clutter on social media. You want to show and prove to the world that literally somebody saw your ad, and you can say, okay, 1 million people did see my ad, but really, really are the figures really going to live up to how much of the emotional resonance the brand can be, equating with? So coming to the main point here is, what are the best practices that we need to reclaim? So here we are not debating or disputing the fact that digital is getting us, some very good practices already from a lot of areas which we saw initially in some of the examples. But there's something that we can reclaim from the paper era, right? There's something we can bring back from the traditional marketing to have a great connect and a hybrid culture. Standing out in the digital world, so creating a very memorable experience with our customers, right? So it could go for a retail brand, the way we have connections built with them online and translate the same offline, in a consistent messages, in consistent behavioral, experiences with the customers. Building trust and credibility, right? So it's a very critical factor here because especially I think with the AI currently and the way the AI is progressing further, there's going to be a lot of trust issues. When the brands don't know who they're talking to, is finally, even if you see there's a human face on a digital screen, you actually don't know whether it's the real human or it's an AI generated video. So there's a lot of important factor being paid on the digital materials that can feel authentic. So when we walk from this conference in the morning, we have the distribution of magazines, we have a distribution of agenda. Now the question is, this could all have been digital, right? We could have just had a scan code and have everything on our phones available, and that's what majority of us do. But just that, the touch, the feel of a paper in your hand, the feel of a magazine in your hand can make a lot of a difference, right? So let's acknowledge that and let's try to translate the same experience for our own brands, right? The brochure still can make a lot of difference when it's given in a hand, and the smell, the touch, having your whole sensory experience is what an offline experience can give you. Strategic storytelling. So storytelling, I'm sure a lot of content creators out in the audience know the importance of storytelling, right? How brands can actually capitalize. We have enough examples. This is again a best practice of our traditional era that needs to be in full force now, especially in the world of short form content. We want to see everything in a very fast manner. Let's pause. Let's go a little slow and figure out what can be a better way of connecting. What should be the goal of a brand? That's the first way to step towards the strategic storytelling, and how we can create a narrative which can relate to what you want to achieve with your audience. Clean design is clear message, right? So be minimalistic, be clear, be concise, and if you want to be a successful brand from a very holistic approach, we need to basically believe in the fact of reducing the digital fatigue, right? So an example like, there's a chocolate brand called Kit Kat, right? Very popular with their advertising in India specifically, and so they have this tagline called, or an advertising punchline called, take a break, right? Have a Kit Kat. So take a break philosophy could be adopted for different brands in a very positive, refreshing perspective about actually taking a break from your digital phones. Come and experience us live at this event. A lot of clubs, a lot of brands into experiential sector can actually have a short link or a QR code sent where you just get a glimpse of a forthcoming activity or an event or an experience you want to create without taking too much of their digital screen time. Right? So there are innovative and creative ways that we can conduct so that gives them a clear blend of both offline and online experience. So, final part of what I want to share as a thought, as I said in the beginning, is about what's next, right? We all know that we spoke about hyper intelligence in the morning, so there will be something else in the future, right? There's somebody sitting somewhere in the world, in the globe, trying to invent something else to do with some new technology that we'll get to know soon. But with this, I think it's very, very important to remember that with digital, let's have a soul in our marketing, right? I think that's where I would say some of the brands are sort of beginning to miss this link, right? And we need to just, as I said, I'm a believer of constantly saying just pause, because we are always on that mind that yes, let's do something. We have pressures coming up from audiences, from the management, from customers, so we have to keep doing something new to gain their attention. But I think the simplest way to actually gain attention and have a deeper relationship with our audience is to pause and reflect and say, oh my God, I think I just need to go back a few years and try to implement what really worked and will always stay. So it's always, the message is very clear, is pixels with a paper soul. Driving online engagement with offline material, we sort of already dwelled on that. Reinforcing digital campaigns with tangible touch points, right? So let's have a touch, feel, smell, sensory experiences created for our brands as much as possible. Creating multi-sensory brand experiences, integrating digital content with physical mailers and all. So we feel that it's a paperless world. It's great if you're talking about saving the environment. That's a great idea and a great thought. But there are times when we really need to invest in some bit of traditional ways of reaching out to our customers. Leveraging data for personalized offline campaigns, right? Using digital insights to target direct mail effectively, and AI plus human creativities, right? So AI is the birth of human creativity anyways. So let's make the best use of merging both and not solely having a campaign or a brand that is born out of AI solely. Data plus emotion is connection, right? So I think what I'm speaking right now has already been partially covered in the morning session, and I'm sure it's going to be covered in the next phase after lunch, because it's all about building deeper relationships with your customers, because brands are here to stay for a longer period. So they're not looking at a shortcuts to their success. So the future of marketing, embracing the hybrid approach. We've come to this word very often nowadays. So the hybrid approach is the way to go. We will have to blend the paper and the pixel era together. A very human-centric marketing wherein we actually lay a lot of importance to integration. That's why we call and believe in the word integrated marketing, where we are bringing the best of both the worlds. A balanced and customer-centric approach that leverages the strengths of both the traditional and the digital era. So my final remark here, and maybe after the session, either offline or otherwise, more than the question, I would actually want to know some of your thoughts about how you feel about this area of how we are progressing as marketers or brand builders. So my personal belief to this whole thing is that the future of marketing isn't digital or traditional, right? The focus of marketing and the future of marketing is about being meaningful. And here I also want to add one more word. The future of marketing is also about being mindful, right? Because we are in the process, right? Whatever comes, we just want to take it and try to implement it. Okay, let's try this, it might work. Let's try that, it might work, right? I think it's more than that. We need to be mindful about how are we doing it, why are we doing it. The same privacy issue comes into the picture. Are we really connecting with the customer so that the customer feels more trusted, rather than feeling, oh my God, my trust has been taken for a ride because they didn't tell me that they're going to encroach on my digital territory every single day, right? And being meaningful and mindful definitely never goes out of style, right? So that's the message we are giving. And I would just request, without the music in the background, just have a look at this Instagram reel, which I wanted to share with you, and I'll tell you why I shared this. So this is a reel that's actually now gone viral. There is a, there are a lot of these marketing publications globally who are actually publishing this reel and talking about how they have used AI to show the brand mascots that existed over the decades, over the years, right? And these are all not the mascots that you see today. They are part of the paper era, by the way, right? So the Amul girl, I mean, some of you from India knows this. Amul girl is a popular mascot for Amul brand, the dairy brand in India. So what I'm trying to say here is that even the AI and the thought process from the way we are leading in technology is pushing the traditional era marketing. And we are going to see this very often where people are beginning to more and more miss the time when small, simple, effective marketing work wonders. And trust me, it's my personal experience now that if we go back to those era and start implementing those best practices, I think that's where our journey is going to be a lot more meaningful and beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, can we have a big round of applause for Madhulika? So, any questions for this wonderful session? All right.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful presentation. I think someone with my age probably will be able to relate to everything what you mentioned. I have a question here, and I think we face this kind of problem, right? And you mentioned also that probably 20 years back was more about depth, about authenticity, message. But right now, even if you look at the audience, their span has gone down, right? We speak about 30 seconds, 40 seconds Instagram reel, not 30 minutes presentation. So from marketing perspective, like if we have to give that authenticity and depth meaning along with that the short term, right, less time kind of thing, what should a marketer do? Because at the end of the day, it's also like if I see 100 ads, I'm only going to retain something that gives a message also within that 30 seconds, right? Okay. So what's the challenge, and what are you doing as a marketing company to blend these two together?
Right. So I think the first thing, I'll just answer the last part. What we are doing to sort of have a better experience is to again have a very integrated approach, right? So the message we are trying to give from a 30 to a 15-second reel, we are also translating it at an experience level. So for example, we work a lot with hospitality brands, right? From like some of the leading hospitality brands in India or globally. So if we create a short reel form content, talking about this is what you can get when you're there in a destination or in a hotel, we aim to achieve, and we are very clear in that perspective of the brands that please deliver the similar message, or if it's already existing, we just beautifully craft it in that short form content. Having said that, it's finally how much we're going to push a lot of what is going to be accepted by the audience over a period of time, right? So I agree, the Gen Zs and the thereafter generations definitely the one who are just swiping content every few seconds, right? But at the same time, we're going to be very conscious to put up a practice in place where we can try and push content which is maybe not 30 seconds, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, but it's done in a way that makes you say, okay, I think I need to stay back to see what comes next, right? So it's also about the way of how we create the content, how we do that storytelling, and there are many campaigns that are doing extremely well, a lot of video content doing well, which are not necessarily short form content. So it's the way you engage with your audience emotionally can actually make people stay back and say, I don't think I want to swipe, I want to really see what they're talking about. It's making a lot of sense to me. And it could be subject to age of audience, obviously, but it can definitely, the trend can shift. Sooner or later, people are beginning to have that fatigue of constantly being bombarded with too much of content. So there will be a time sooner or later when people will want to progress or step back to the past era.
Thank you. And actually, this reminds me of my talk with another podcaster, right? So he was saying the same thing, that he creates 15 minutes content, but he constantly makes sure that every 40 seconds there's something, the hook that retains the audience.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. So can we have a big round of applause for Madhulika? A very wonderful presentation and reminding us about our memories of advertisement. So Let's move ahead. Yeah.
Can we have a photo of Madhulika at the stage first?
Come forward. To the middle.
Here?
Yep. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. One more. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Video. Just a video.
Okay, am I modeling it? Okay.
Now for the felicitation. So I would like to invite Ms. Mitali. So round of applause for Madhulika for the wonderful session. Come on guys, huge round of applause.